Welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're diving into what is honestly one of the most completely broken, god-tier character builds you are ever going to see. We're breaking down the legendary card apprentice, Dalton Wyatt. I mean, how exactly does someone go from a standard human base to an entity wielding multiple physiques, stacking these impossible traits, and literally rewriting their own DNA? Well, let's map out this wild evolutionary blueprint together and look at the exact mechanics, specifically the insane physiques and traits that make his build so terrifyingly powerful.
Okay, to make sense of this, we're going to track Wyatt's ultimate skill tree across 5 distinct evolutionary steps. We'll start with the Viltronian Foundation, then look at the mutated soul, move into the Myriad Devil transformation, check out how he assimilates deviant traits, and finally, bring it all together with the primordial evolution. All right, let's jump right into step 1, the Viltronian Foundation. This is his physical base. You know, every single broken build out there needs a rock-solid base loadout, right? And for Wyatt, he definitely didn't settle for a standard humanity. He went out looking for the ultimate biological upgrade. To really understand his baseline, we have to look at the Viltronian physique. Wyatt actually pulled this from testing a dormant alien corpse, and what he found was just staggering. The alien physique was, incredibly, 97% similar to a normal human's, but it was essentially the human form pushed to its absolute evolutionary limit. We're talking millions of years of evolution to achieve this enhanced superhuman physical structure. So by integrating a variant of the Viltronian core into his own body, Wyatt completely replaced his fragile human shell with this monstrously durable, totally adaptable foundation.
But of course, he didn't stop there. He merged that Viltronian core with a dungeon calamity seed and his totally unique soul pupils to forge what's called the Calamity Soul Core. Guys, this essentially gives him literal cheat codes. He gets an immortal core, which means he absolutely cannot die as long as the core is intact. He gets a hive AI to manage his network, and crucially, he gets the body restructure trait. This is a big one. It incorporates soul energy constructs directly into his flesh and blood, which lets him seamlessly switch between different physical transformations without losing his original form. It turns his baseline into this massive, adaptable sponge just ready to absorb other physiques.
Which brings us to step 2, the mutated soul, or the spiritual engine powering this whole thing. Because think about it, a physical body that powerful requires a massive engine to run it. You wouldn't slap a Ferrari engine into a golf cart, right? And you definitely can't run a god-tier physique and a standard human soul. For a normal card apprentice, their ego gem, which is basically a monster core for humans, houses just a single ethereal spirit. It processes their connection to the rules of the world. But then you look at Wyatt's setup. His is a heavily mutated soul. Instead of just one single spirit, Wyatt mutated his soul to house multiple slave consciousnesses, right alongside his master consciousness. It basically acts like a massive server farm. It's handling incredibly complex data, managing all those various physiques, and processing curses that would instantly vaporize a normal person's ego gem. In fact, this unique mutation evolved to carry a staggering 12 separate consciousnesses running simultaneously. Just wrap your head around the sheer magnitude of that for a second. 12. Each of these consciousnesses can even manifest as tangible entities. This massive parallel processing is exactly how he manages to stack so many conflicting traits and physiques without his mind literally blue screening and crashing. And you gotta keep in mind, this spiritual mutation is really the only reason he can safely operate this build at all. To conjure these spirits and power his insane physical transformations, he needs ultra-pure soul energy. Well, his mutated soul refines his soul energy, making it incredibly dense. Plus, because he has those 12 consciousnesses, he has the massive mental bandwidth needed to handle intense abilities like the blood curse incarnation technique. He can juggle 12 distinct curses all at once. Without this mutation, a normal user would instantly drown in insanity and lose their identity completely under the weight of all those conflicting traits. Now let's pivot to step 3, the Myriad Devil transformation. This is the broken mechanic. So, he's got the physical shell, he's got the spiritual engine. Now we have to talk about the wildest mechanic he managed to steal. It's really interesting when you consider the dual nature of the Myriad Devil body card. On one hand, you have the Myriad Devil transformation, which lets him morph his body and soul pathways into literally anything, as long as he has a tiny biological medium, like a drop of blood. But then, on the other hand, you have the Myriad Devil's Hex, which lets him force that transformation onto an enemy. So if he gets a hold of your blood, hair, or flesh, he can literally turn you from a terrifying boss-level enemy into a harmless little pebble on the ground. It is completely, utterly unfair. And how did he get this? Well, Wyatt looted this incredibly rare ability by sacrificing an assassin named Mike Brown. He used a Blood Fate Plunder rune to devour Mike's blood and steal the card. This granted Wyatt the Myriad Devil Physique, which turns his body into an infinitely adaptable chimera. He gets absolute adaptability to perfectly mimic the unique physical traits of completely alien races. But honestly, the most overpowered aspect of this? By combining this transformation ability with his Calamity Daughter gems, Wyatt can essentially create an infinite number of Calamity Soul gems. That gives him an infinite number of original bodies for his mutated soul to jump into. It is infinite scaling at its finest. All right, moving on to step 4, assimilating deviant traits, or what I like to call evolutionary stacking.
So, with infinite adaptability unlocked, Wyatt doesn't just sit around taking it easy. He proactively hunts and equips new evolutionary traits. He basically treats his body like an ongoing Frankenstein experiment, using this brutal 3-step combo. Step 1, he hunts down elite, ruler-class beings, defeating them to harvest their DNA because they have the rarest genetic traits in their tribes. Step 2, he activates his Blood Fate Plunder and Myriad Devil abilities to absorb those unique traits and rule powers. And finally, Step 3, he initiates cellular reconstruction using the body restructure skill from his Calamity Core. He literally rebuilds his physical body at the cellular level right then and there, fixing any flaws and permanently integrating these new powerhouse physiques into his own base form. Just to give you an idea of the caliber of god-tier traits he is hunting down, think about his encounter with the Deviant Devil. The quote goes, "The devil's ability to command reality with nothing but the force of his voice was a chilling reminder of its overpowered physique. This was a colossal creature with a reality-bending muscle physique. It could literally command reality with its voice just due to its raw physical prowess." Wyatt specifically targets and gathers DNA from these supreme beings so he can replicate their race's ultimate gifts and stack them onto his own ever-growing framework. He's literally building a patchwork quilt of the universe's most overpowered traits. And that brings us to the final step. Step 5, the primordial evolution, the ultimate form. This is the grand finale, where all of these stolen mechanics, cores, and mutations synthesize into his ultimate synthesized form. If we track his chronological climb up the evolutionary ladder, in Phase 1, we started with the base Voltronian core, which was just a highly evolved, enhanced human foundation. Then in Phase 2, he upgraded to the Calamity Soul Gem, which integrated that Hive AI and his mutated souls. And finally, Phase 3 brings us to the Primordial Calamity. This is where he rectifies all the lingering flaws in his physical and spiritual bodies, pushing all of his amassed physiques to the absolute limit of his current realm and synthesizing directly with the origin source and rule source of the universe. The power scaling here is just completely staggering. When his base Voltronian physique upgrades to the primordial Voltronian physique, his physical strength and sturdiness don't just increase, they absolutely explode. We're looking at a massive 100-fold multiplier to his physical prowess. That means he can fight and defend against upper realm opponents using raw physical power alone. For standard card apprentices, even the ones with elite bloodlines, that kind of physical output is completely unimaginable. And the final stats on this primordial loadout, they are just simply unfair. First, he gets absolute blood curse immunity, meaning complete resistance to any blood-based hexes. He achieves dual existence, so he exists in both the physical and spiritual planes simultaneously. His mutated souls, they evolve into myriad primordial spirits, where his 12 consciousnesses develop into distinct independent iterations of himself. And, to top it all off, he is one with the source, granting him a direct connection to the universe's origin source. He is effectively a force of nature at this point, blending multiple high-tier traits into an unbeatable, immortal physique. Which leaves us with this final crazy thought. When you have a character who can infinitely replicate their own soul, steal the genetic traits of supreme beings, and bend reality with a physical prowess that spans both the physical and spiritual planes, does the primordial physique have any limits left to break? Or has Dalton Wyatt truly engineered a god? It's a terrifying question for sure, and one that definitely leaves us hungry to see just how far this evolutionary blueprint can go. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time on The Explainer.